Good evening and a warm welcome to everyone here from Talking Films Online, TFO for short. TFO was founded almost on a whim by Professor Nikhila and myself in June 2020 during the lockdown. Since then, TFO has had uninterrupted discussions on films from all over the world every Saturday at 9 p.m. on Zoom. It is a group of film scholars, researchers, students, teachers, and anyone passionate about cinema. It has been our practice to invite people to select and lead the discussion of the chosen film, which we watch in our own time and place. On some occasions, filmmakers, editors, and cinematographers have also joined our sessions. Aparna Sen, Amol Palekar, Girish Kasarwalli, and Adur Gopalakrishnan, to name a few. We have held film festivals such as East European, Iranian, Women's Cinema, and others. In the month of June each year, to celebrate our anniversary, we hold a smartphone short film making contest for students and a lecture series in various university departments. In September 2024, we held our first offline event, an international seminar on Indian cinema in the digital era, continuities and discontinuities, in collaboration with Forum on Contemporary Theory, Baroda. Today, we conclude our month-long fest called Cinemability, curated by Samvartha Sahil and Arvinda Bhatt, with a discussion of My Name is Khan. Kritika Amin, who also happens to be my niece, will lead the discussion. Kritika is an experienced occupational therapist specializing in mental health and psychosocial rehabilitation with over a decade of dedicated practice in the field. She is a gold medalist from Manipal University, having completed her bachelor's and master's there. Based in Bangalore, she works at an interdisciplinary rehabilitation hospital where she has been instrumental in supporting children and adolescents with autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, ODD, and a range of behavioral challenges. Welcome, Kritika, and over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction. And I would also like to thank TFO for giving me this opportunity to share my views, thoughts on how disability is portrayed in Hindi cinema. So, majorly, I will be speaking on how autism is being understood and then projected on the large screen for the audience. So, just before we get into the integrities of the film, I just want to speak about autism and Asperger's because autism is a condition that is highly misunderstood still by many of the individuals, where they assume that individuals with autism has some sort of intellectual disability or they are being dependent throughout their lives, but that isn't true at all. Individuals with autism can lead quite enriching, fulfilling, and independent lives. So an individual can lie anywhere on the spectrum, having his or her own strengths and deficits. And Asperger's is one of the conditions on the spectrum, but with a higher level of functioning. So mostly these individuals are verbal, they can communicate, they're independent in most of their activities. However, you will find them that their major challenges are in social communication or understanding social cues. So that brings us to My Name is Khan. So, My Name is Khan, it offers a very powerful narrative that intersects with various social issues, religion, race, and disability. Here, we'll be talking more on Asperger's, on the theme of Asperger's. So, just to give a brief about My Name is Khan, the protagonist, Rizwan Khan, is a Muslim man with Asperger's syndrome, living in post 9/11 America. And after a personal tragedy where he loses his son, or how in the film they've portrayed that person to be his one true best friend, he embarks on this journey across the country to meet the US president and deliver the message, my name is Khan and I'm not a terrorist. So as a therapist, yes, I would definitely go ahead and appreciate the film's attempt to center a protagonist who is on the spectrum having Asperger's and then being portrayed by none other than Shah Rukh Khan. So yes, that's quite something which we can appreciate. But at the same time, yes, there are a lot of simplifications, there are a lot of exaggerations, stereotypes, which I'll be shedding more light on it later in our discussion. So for the ease of the discussion and for everyone to understand also, I've just divided my views into three. So where first I'll be focusing more on what were the actual traits that the film could capture well, and then secondly what were the dramatizations or oversimplifications that they have done, and three, just talking about through the social lens or how society still views autism. So going on with the one glaring thing which they have shown throughout the film is that Rizwan's character, he has limited eye contact and limited facial expressions and with a monotone voice, and that is quite accurate. Individuals on the spectrum do have these challenges where while communicating with others they don't really look at them, and they may have sometimes awkward facial expressions too. So this, I felt that it was captured throughout the film quite well. But the other interesting thing what I felt that they actually did their research was in terms of the sensory issues. So individuals with Asperger's on the spectrum, they have a lot of sensory issues. They may be hypersensitive or hyposensitive to different types of sensory stimuli, and this was correctly depicted in Rizwan's character, where we have seen the scenes where he's very hypersensitive to loud sounds, be it the sound of a hair dryer, or be it bright lights, or be it aversive towards a hug or towards a touch. So these sensory challenges were quite well portrayed in the film. And the other interesting thing what I felt is there was a scene where the character, Rizwan's character, is first time meeting the character Mandira. He's on a crossroad. He's trying to cross the road. There's the visual stimuli. There is the sounds, and he just stops there. He doesn't know what to do. So here they actually try to capture something called as a meltdown, and this is quite frequent in individuals who are on the spectrum, and their effort in capturing a meltdown was quite good. And because these meltdowns happen in individuals on the Asperger's when there's a sensory overload. So that was the other aspect where I felt yes, the sensory issues were highlighted in the movie. Now coming on to a little more Asperger specific things, like in individuals with Asperger's, uh, they are very intelligent. So sometimes they are hyper focused, and sometimes they are hyper focused towards certain interests or certain topics. So here in the movie, Rizwan's character is from his childhood. They have shown that he is an excellent person in with mechanical objects, with repairing things, and he's really hyper focused in these tasks. So, and they have tried to show him as a genius in this. So in this aspect, yes, these are traits which are seen in Asperger's. And going ahead, even small clippings, it was not much, but they showed small clippings of he getting distressed by a change in routine, where in one of the scenes where he was traveling in a bus, he stops over for some to take some food, and then he remembers it's his prayer time. So without seeing the place, the people, he decides to offer his prayers. So this is somewhere we can somewhere I could correlate with where these individuals are quite uh, they want to be continue with their routine. They get very distressed when there's any change in their routine. So these were small things which, yes, here and there, in certain scenes, in certain aspects, the movie tried to capture. But one of the major thing that the movie actually tried to capture was the deficit, was Rizwan's struggle in understanding metaphors and the social cues. he was shown constantly confused with sarcasm. And actually, to be honest, the entire film is based on him literally taking the words, said by the character, that go and tell the president that you're not a terrorist. So that was told, and he took it like a mission. He took it in the literal sense that yes, he has to go and tell the president and then only come back. So this was because these individuals, their major challenges are in social communication. So and that was shown quite well throughout the film, even when he repeatedly kept making the statement of, my name is Khan and I'm not a terrorist. In response to being misunderstood, he doesn't grasp why people are feeling, fearful or emotional. So he's just thinking he's trying to clear a misunderstanding, a perceived misunderstanding, but he was not understanding the social cues or the change in expressions or the behavior of the opposite individual. So just a small thing, like, so this also made me think that, as a society, we are still not prepared to we're not prepared, or we're not equipped to communicate with such individuals which have these difficulties, because we also do not understand, or we are not well learned to know what are their difficulties in social communication. And at the end, yes, it is a Bollywood film, so there was a lot of drama, everything, but somewhere they maybe slightly even try to show or seem that yes, the character Rizwan has empathy, he has emotional attachment to the character of Mandira and Samir. So this is because there's a misunderstanding, or a misconception that individuals with Asperger's, they lack empathy, they cannot show expression, they cannot understand expression. Yes, there are challenges. They definitely find it very difficult to understand and express their emotions, but they have their own unique ways of doing so. So somewhere in the film, yes, though being Bollywood, they did try to show that individuals on the spectrum or with Asperger's can also, have emotional attachments and want to do things for people that they care about or love about. So these were all the certain traits. Some were shown in small clippets, and some were shown throughout the film. But on the other hand, yes, there were quite a lot of inconsistencies that were seen during the film while portraying Rizwan's sensory challenges, only if I say. Because initially, in the initial part of the film, if you have observed, they show a lot of sensory challenges, like, where even crossing a road is a big task for him. But as the film progresses, he's able to maneuver over complex public situations. He's able to wade through floods. They have shown he's able to be in a parade for the president. So these sensory challenges cannot just disappear. So here these inconsistencies were seen. It was shown that it was not well researched on, how these sensory challenges remain irrespective of the time and place. So yes, there were this inconsistency, and yes, they have definitely over dramatized the fact that Rizwan is a genius, or he's going into that savant territory, which can be misleading, which reinforces a misleading stereotype that individuals on with Asperger's are really geniuses. I mean, some can have even cognitive deficits who are on the spectrum. So that was a little of a misleading stereotype. And the other thing, what I felt, during the movie was, I think so they portrayed Rizwan's character in a very one-dimensional frame, meaning that he's very innocent, he's very naive, portrayed him to be like a victim. So they didn't show the complexity of the character of an individual with Asperger's. I mean, they also have a lot of complex layers like any one of us. So that complexity, that messiness of human behavior was somewhere missed. Instead, it ended up showing him very heroic, very saintly, if I put it in that way. So actually how these individuals are. They also have, different layers, they also have different moods, they also have, days of their own. So that complexity they fail to capture throughout the film. So I think so maybe, going in the Bollywood way, or over dramatization, they went ahead with that. And yes, and then ultimately they, the character Rizwan, he went on this impossible journey, cross country journey of, going to meet the president, helping people in the floods, and ultimately meeting the president, becoming a media hero. Well, all this was, yes, narratively very engaging, very nice to see on the big screen. uh, but it actually somewhere trivialized the lived struggles of people with Asperger's, and misinterpreted or misrepresented their capabilities and challenges, or the traits. Slowly, as the film progressed towards the end, I also felt like, the traits of Asperger's also faded away from the character as one. uh, Rather than, they didn't keep it uniform throughout the film, because he, standing in a parade front of so many people, or wading through waters, and then suddenly he's, helping with all those aspects, was somewhere they trivialized that, the made him just a media hero, and trivialized how actually these individuals with Asperger's have struggles and challenges. So, uh, somewhere they lost. I felt that somewhere the plot of, how an individual with Asperger's got lost at the end of the movie. But at the end, also, I would just like to add on, like, how as a society, or through the social lens, how we see, uh, these individuals with autism or with disability. Because nowadays we don't follow the medical model, we have moved off into the social model. uh, so here, they showed like Rizwan, he faces not only racial and religious discrimination, but also ableism. So that is the prejudice against individuals with disabilities. So where his behaviors, his limited eye contact, his, aversiveness towards sensory stimuli, these all things were often treated as very suspicious. What, or what is he doing? Especially if I recollect the first scene, the initial scene where he is detained at the airport, and he's partly even arrested. Later they've shown he gets arrested also. So where, because of his behavior was misinterpreted in some way, and they couldn't understand his, limited eye contact, or they couldn't understand his distress because of the immense sensory overload. So, quite highlights the fact that as a society, we are unfamiliar with disability, and in the end, this does fuel into discrimination. And coming to the next point, that yes, they did show Rizwan having a very fulfilling life. He gets a job, he gets married, has a kid, everything. Uh, but that is not actual inclusion. Inclusion, it requires a lot of structural, attitudinal change. It's not just taking the person and putting him or her in the society and telling, yeah, he is now in the mainstream. So there, they, and I felt that, as a society, we still do not see that clearly, or we still struggle with seeing an individual beyond their disability label. And continue the same point, I felt though they showed Rizwan, being, uh, continuing an independent life and all, but there were small clippets in the film where they showed an autism center, maybe two scenes, I think, so over there. But they never showed that these individuals require a lot of support. They require, they didn't portray the need of support services or therapy or strategies that these individuals need to overcome these challenges and to function independently. So this can be quite misleading, that even without support or without strategies, individuals with Asperger's can lead quite fulfilling lives. So I felt there somewhere that was not shown at all, and instead it could have also been an opportunity to educate the audiences on how, structured support helps people on the spectrum to thrive. So here I felt like, not at all showing these support services or therapies, even trivialize or minimize their challenges, and thought that like any other individual, they can also just lead their lives without any help, which is not true. They require some sort of support. They require a support system. They require therapies. They require some sort of structure to overcome these challenges. And yes, after that, they definitely can lead quite fulfilling and enriching lives. So I think so. This much is what I could capture through the film, and I think so. On this note, I would like to open the discussion to all, and even hear other views and everything.
Thank you so much, Kritika, for telling us about what exactly is autism and Asperger's and how it is built into the narrative of the film. To my mind, I thought the Muslim identity of the character was as much central to the narrative as perhaps Asperger's. In fact, at times even overtaking the significance of the fact that he is differently abled. And for instance, that airport scene that you mentioned, along with the inability to detect certain features of autistic people, I thought it was also the strong prejudice of the fact that, he is a Muslim. So, so I looked at, I was thinking, why did the filmmaker think of putting a person with this kind of disability in the center of this film? Like what would happen if it was just another Muslim person, not anyone with autism? So I just thought perhaps it was kind of, his Asperger's was a reflection of the outsiderness of his Muslim identity. Just like how an autistic person is an outsider in an ableist society, similarly, the Muslim is also an outsider in societies that see themselves as majoritarian. So so I thought the two aspects of his identity, autism on the one hand and his religious identity on the other hand, together they reflected his outsiderness, his marginalization in society based on two of these, differentness, the difference. So that is how I tried to understand why Asperger's had to be introduced in a film which I saw was largely about religious identity. With this, I open it to the others for discussion. And Kritika, whenever you wish to come in, you can just come into the discussion, right? Yeah, Nikhila, please go ahead.
Yeah, so Kritika, thanks for the psychologist's perspective on the Asperger's syndrome and autism. I was thinking about the film also in terms of some of the rubrics that have come up in the course of this entire month's discussion on disability films. And one of the things that we have been talking about is, I don't know what you will think about this, Kritika. So one of the points of discussion that, in fact, we began with when we discussed Champions, the film Champions for Campions, I think, was, is a film that incorporates autistic or disabled people, somehow having them play those roles, rather than able-bodied people playing the role of disabled, or in this case, an autistic person. So we have talked a little bit about that, and why it is so important to have autistic or disabled or see disabled bodies on screen. This was also something that came out very strongly in last week's discussion, when Samvartha asked us to watch the two documentaries, particularly the film called Yes, We Fuck. So in a sense, this was also like a way of thinking about that issue. So is it that Shah Rukh Khan playing this role of autism helps us to throw light on an issue that people may not know about? Or is it that his role is actually a disservice in the sense that people with disabilities, the disability is kind of sidelined or restructured and kind of pigeonholed into suiting a particular kind of star persona and the kind of role that the character plays. So I was just thinking about that. I was wondering, what Kritika or others, so many of us have been part of these discussions in the last few weeks. So I was just wondering about that aspect. And as Geeta pointed out, the second thing I was also thinking of is, as a Muslim, why does this character, why is this character marked with another disability? So is it in a way, the politics of having a character, a Muslim character, be disabled as well? So in the sense, is it that it's only then that somehow he doesn't, he doesn't seem like a threatening weapon? Is it only then that one can actually even like him? So is it to kind of take away the edge, make him more likable, make us more sympathetic? So is that the function? So in which case, the question that you're asking, Kritika, in terms of what is authentic, or what a kind of coheres with real-time experiences vis-a-vis or real-time experiences of people with autism, with somebody like this character. There is a specific purpose for it, which is probably to make us feel more sympathetic than we might otherwise feel. So his social awkwardness. So it's almost like you would like, you would think of him like a child, and a child is non-threatening. Any other, without this disability, then he will appear as a potential threat, and not believable enough, in spite of his protestations that I'm not a terrorist, my name is Khan and I'm not a terrorist. So this establishment of truth value to that character through this particular kind of disability. So I think that is all its functional value, just to make the character seem probably more likable, truthful, childlike, not someone against whom we can cast doubt or aspersions. Also, remember that whole painful airport scene, which is so humiliating. and Shah Rukh Khan himself, I remember, had to apparently go through this. So something that might have made anyone protest or get irritated, demand a compensation for losing a flight, he doesn't do any of that. So there is no retaliation. So it's almost as if, you can do anything to me, and you will only get my mantra of peace, from this end. So completely, it's a way of sawing out any kind of potential rough edge in the character, anything that could make him unlikable or threatening. It's only a perceived threat, of course. So I was thinking that's all its function is. Maybe I'm being, somewhat reductionist in my reading, but this is what I felt about, why this film or how this film uses disability. Yeah, thanks for the wonderful introduction, Kritika. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, just adding on to it, it's true. I mean, they wanted to dilute the threatening effect, and that's what I said. Like, they made him, even like people with Asperger's, they are not saintly. I mean, they have different layers. They have different layers of personality. They are very complex individuals. So yes, you see from your perspective, yes, they just wanted to make him more likable, more heroic, and definitely dilute the threatening effect that if Asperger's was not there, it was just a Muslim man going around telling that sentence. That could have been a very threatening thing or a perceived threat. And somewhere they took this angle to show that, though he has Asperger's, he is a Muslim, and even with his challenges, he's trying to do something. So I feel they wanted to make it more heroic rather than actually show the lived struggles or challenges that these individuals face.
Yeah. Any more comments? Questions, comments? Okay, while you gather your thoughts, it's just to add to what Nikhila was saying. It's we have seen even in the previous films that we discussed, there is some kind of a compulsion for a differently abled person to, kind of be extra good, or like you are saying, almost saintly, in order to be, co-opted into quote unquote normal society. So that is very much evident in this film. And to that extent, I would say that would be the case even with minority communities. They would also, want to go that extra mile in order to be accepted. And somehow those two, kind of come together in the building up of Rizwan Khan as this saintly figure. Any other comments anyone would like to? Sanjay, Fabian, Samvartha. What happened? Nobody wants to speak?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure. Fabian, go ahead. Please go ahead.
I really enjoyed this film. And yeah, thank you, Kritika. It was a very beautiful introduction. And, normally I'm not very interested in Bollywood actors and in Hollywood actor as well. But I thought Shah Rukh Khan performance in this film shows how a great actor he is, because it's very complicated to to play a disabled person. And I thought about Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man. I think it was also 15 years ago. The film is 2010. Rain Man is approximately maybe the same during the same years. And the performance of Shah Rukh Khan is more or less like a Dustin Hoffman performance in Rain Man. And I thought how great he is. He's heartbreaking. He's really emotional, and you feel a lot of compassion. So I think the film is really well done because of Shah Rukh Khan. And really I appreciate particularly his performance. And what else I wanted to say? I also say that, like Gita said in the first place, the film stresses on differences, not only being disabled, not autism, but also Muslim identity. And Muslim identity here is treated as a handicap. And the first scene is really very powerful. The first scene in the airport when he says, "My name is Khan and I'm not a terrorist." It's simple and it has a lot of power because it's the beginning of the film, and there is this identity that will be all over the film, will be from the beginning to the end. It's a lesson of humanity, of good values like humanity, kindness, understanding, and universality. So I really enjoyed it. It is not so often that films are transmitting these good values. So it's a very nice film. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you, Fabian. Anyone else? Sanjay, Samvartha, Tarkeshwar, yes. Ajanta, Samvartha, did you unmute?
No, I was like, Geeta, if possible, if we can revisit that question. I don't know about what Kritika would think about my first question about actors playing themselves
Yes.
on screen, or you have, star figures bringing up these complex disabilities and bringing attention in some ways to these complex disabilities. I mean, as a person in the field, what is your own sense of how this works, Kritika?
Yeah. It's actually taking a voice from characters, autistic characters or mentors or from the community is important, which definitely My Name is Khan lacked. But having individuals with autism, going on playing the characters on film, it can be quite complex and challenging for them too. But and as a I think so as a society we are really not very equipped with managing these challenges or these difficulties. But yeah, it'll be great to actually see individuals who are on the spectrum to portray, because it'll be more believable, and it'll be something where we can actually understand their lived experiences and struggles. At the same time, portraying, like, at the same time, even the actors, when they do it, like, I got reminded of in Barfi, in the movie Barfi, even Priyanka Chopra's character was based on a person having autism, but it was portrayed in a not a I don't think so they did any much research in that, because it was portrayed in a very crude manner. It showed more the person having intellectual disability rather than autism. So if Indian cinema or Hindi cinema are trying to bring on major characters to portray such things, then I think so it should be well researched, and they should ask the community, or they should ask people actually having autism to give in their insights, rather than just making it more dramatized. Because the portrayal of at least Priyanka Chopra's character in Barfi was not at all of someone with autism.
And talking about his Muslim identity, I think just before the film was released, he was caught in a major controversy about his comments regarding including Pakistani players in IPL, which really didn't go down well here. And for that reason, the film, I think, in many places was also banned for some time, and before it was allowed to be screened. So we can see in the case of Shah Rukh Khan, there is this collapse of the star and the person, and how that gets built into the filmic narrative as well. All these controversies around his Muslimness and how it plays out amongst his fans, and then how he come similarly, for instance, even in Chak De India, he plays the role of Mir Ranjan Negi. So I think these are the only two films, if I'm not mistaken, where he plays the role of Muslim men. And so you can see how his these autobiographical elements also get entangled within the filmic narrative and its reception as well.
Also, I think it's somewhat, I mean, it's somewhat far-fetched to expect in a melodrama. Basically, it is that it's a film that uses melodramatic elements to whip up various kinds of emotion. There is a conglomeration of, emotive registers that are kind of whipped up every now and then. One of whose strands is about disability itself, but there are so many other registers, which are meant to kind of keep the emotional. Emotion is the level of engagement in the film. So otherwise, it's not a film where you are like with the films that we watched last week, the documentary films, where the demand was on, in some sense, realism and how in fact the camera in those cases were like we marveled how did even a camera enter into an intimate space, over there in the documentary last week. But clearly, this is a fiction film, the genre of which is melodrama, and everything is meant to serve the purpose of keeping us kind of soft and malleable, throughout as spectators, and to make us root for the character. So, I'm maybe a little uncharitable that such films don't really are not meant really to show you the real life experiences of people with autism. Yes, there are, as you rightly pointed out, Kritika, they just pick up enough traits to mark the difference of the character. Lack of eye contact, does not like too much sensory overload, doesn't like to be hugged. So, I mean, these are just random signs that are picked up to attune us to the difference of this character, but I don't think they are really meant to tell us the challenges that they live through. As you said, the space where he could get help, the Center for Autism. I mean, there is hardly any presence of that in the film. So it's a more, it's yet another device. I would think that's my reading of the film. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Nikhila. भरत भाई, आप कुछ बोलना चाहते हो? Any other comments, questions? Sridhar, Yagnashri, Sanjay, Ajanta.
Geeta, I think Mr. Bharat is trying to unmute himself.
Okay. Bharat bhai?
हाँ,
Yes. बोलिए.
नहीं, मुझे कुछ कहना नहीं था। एक बात ऐसी थी कि मुझे एक सिंबॉलिक लगा उसका, जो डिजीज है ना, वो फिल्म का जो ग्रामर है उसमें एक जो बात नहीं कह सकते हो, झिझक के कहना है, वो पूरा जो शाहरुख खान के साथ जुड़ा था, मुझे फिल्म देखते देखते लगा कि जैसे ये दोनों ऐसा मिल गया है कि एक सिंबल की तरह भी हम फिल्म में देख सकते हैं।
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Just to translate what Bharat bhai just said, he says that he sees Rizwan Khan's disability as merely symbolic and nothing more than that. Any other opinions, any other questions, comments? Okay, if there are no more, then we'll conclude this session here. Thank you very much, Kritika, for agreeing to open this discussion. And thank you all for joining. Good night. See you next Saturday, same time. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.